Hi guys, welcome back or welcome to DreamWorks Switch to Life. And for today's video, we are going to be reviewing the very first movie of the Kung Fu Panda franchise. Yeah, this is in preparation for the upcoming Kung Fu Panda 4, which is almost 2 months away from release as the time I'm posting this video. So without further ado, let's get started. So just the fact that this movie is about to get a fourth film is kind of a good indicator of how great this movie is. It's really amazing. The animation is stunning. The music is really awesome and iconic. The humor for this movie is really funny.
We all have our place in this world. Mine is here, and yours is...
I know, is here.
No, it's at table 2, 5, 7, and 12. Service with a smile.
And the character designs are super cool. The voice acting for this movie is really amazing, especially in the case of Jack Black as Po and James Hong as Mr. Ping. I just loved both of their characters and their voices. There's also the scenery and architecture, which really makes me think that I'm actually in China, even though this is an animated movie filled with animals. And the greatest part about this entire franchise is the action sequences. Seriously, DreamWorks is known for making some really amazing action pieces, and Kung Fu Panda is no exception. In fact, it's where they shine. However, one of the best things about this movie is its characters. Po himself is a great character because he's so relatable. He's someone who comes from humble beginnings and doesn't really think he can do much of anything, but he still dreams about being a great warrior. And when that destiny is handed off to him, he still doesn't consider himself worthy, despite the fact that he's constantly trying to get that destiny to happen. There's also a bunch of people who keep doubting him, but he doesn't let their doubts define who he's supposed to be. Instead, he simply just tries to accept the destiny that's upon him, and he tries desperately to make it happen despite what everybody says, including himself.
How are you gonna change this into the Dragon Warrior?
Even though he doubts himself, he still persists, and that's what makes him so great of a role model and, not to mention, relatable. There's also the other characters, including Master Shifu, who I believe is probably one of the best Kung Fu masters that I've ever seen. And of course, Oogway with his very iconic quotes, which is really amazing.
Yesterday is history. Tomorrow is a mystery. But today is a gift. That is why it is called the present.
And then there's the Furious Five. They don't really get their chance to shine in the movies, or at the very least in this movie, but they do get their chance in the future stuff, which includes TV shows and the sequels. Well, actually, we get to see a lot of them with their kung fu skills and see them in action, but we don't get to see a lot of their characters in this movie. But to be honest, I felt like this was Po's story. In fact, it always is Po's story. So it makes sense why we don't get to see the characters behind the Furious Five. And then, of course, there's the villains of this franchise, starting with Tai Lung. Now, I gotta say, Kung Fu Panda is known for its amazing antagonists. They all are threatening and imposing, and they're so iconic and awesome. It's just so cool how evil these guys are, and Tai Lung is no exception, especially because he actually has some emotional ties with Shifu, as all he ever wants to do is make his father proud, and he believes the only way to do that is to obtain the Dragon Scroll and become the Dragon Warrior, and he does everything in his power to make it happen, even if it means turning evil, which unfortunately is the reason why he doesn't have that. And now it's time to dive into spoilers, but considering this movie is 15 years old, it's not much. So let's talk about it. Of course, Po dreams of becoming a kung fu master, but because he was just born in a noodle shop, he doesn't believe he can actually do that. That is until he sees a flyer where Master Oogway says that he's going to choose the Dragon Warrior, a prophesied legendary warrior who was supposed to save China from a bunch of evil threats, including but not limited to Tai Lung. Due to a freak accident, Po is accidentally chosen as the Dragon Warrior, except
There are no accidents.
in the meantime, a worried Shifu sends Zhang over to Chorgom prison, and in the process ends up leading to Tai Lung's escape, which means that now Po has to train to become the Dragon Warrior.
It's very bad news.
Shifu. There is just news. There is no good or bad.
In a really small amount of time because Tai Lung is coming to the Valley of Peace to claim the Dragon Scroll.
That is bad news.
And unfortunately, only the Dragon Warrior can actually defeat him, especially after the death of Oogway, who simply just passed on to the spirit realm. And that was really kind of sad to watch, but at the same time, expected. You can't really have two Kung Fu masters and expect one of them to not die. This, of course, means that while Shifu is desperate to get Po to be sent away, as soon as Tai Lung escapes from prison and Oogway dies, that means that Shifu now officially has to train Po as the Dragon Warrior, even though he doesn't actually believe that Po can actually be the Dragon Warrior. That is, until he shows some promise, and then Shifu gets the idea of how he can actually train Po in the ways of Kung Fu. He can't teach him like the Furious Five, he has to teach him using food. And then, of course, after the training session, Po realizes that he's not hungry. And that's really cool because it shows just how far his character development has come in that short amount of training montage time. And honestly, this movie, it was really great with its pacing. I just loved it. And in the meantime, the Furious Five go on to take Tai Lung, and we see all of their kung fu skills in action. And in the end, we realize just how powerful this Tai Lung can actually be and how much of a threat he is. And it's really dramatic and awesome. And then Po is finally given the Dragon Scroll, and
It's blank.
everybody's expecting Po to be able to read it and gain this super awesome power, but that's not the case. That is until Mr. Ping makes Po realizes that just like his secret ingredient noodle soup, there is no secret ingredient. There's no power that the Dragon Scroll can give you. It's literally just you. That's what makes you qualified to be the Dragon Warrior. And that is when Po finally believes that he actually could be the Dragon Warrior. And thus he goes back to the Jade Palace and takes on Tai Lung, who, let's be honest, has a really great backstory with emotional ties to Shifu. And it's really awesome and amazing, and I just love this character. I love all of the characters in this franchise. But what makes Tai Lung stand out is that he's hurt by what Shifu had done to him in the past, and Shifu is hurt by what Tai Lung did. And it's really amazing to see just how far these two have come, and it's really sad, actually, but still, it's really great to have that kind of backstory for a DreamWorks villain, especially one as iconic as Tai Lung. And then there is the epic fight scenes of this movie, which include, and are not limited to, Tai Lung escaping from Chorgom prison in a really awesome spectacle of power. And then there's also Tai Lung fighting against the Furious Five on the Bridge of Regrets. And then finally, we have a very emotional battle between Tai Lung and Shifu before we get the funny and iconic moment where Po gets his chance to shine as the Dragon Warrior, where after realizing that there is no secret ingredient, he ends up trying to get beaten up by Tai Lung, but he just is too flabby for any of Tai Lung's special moves to work. And Po gets his chance to actually defeat Tai Lung using a special move called the Wuxi Finger Hold, or rather the Skadoosh, as most people call it these days. By the way, one of the best qualities of Po is that he only needs to see a kung fu move once or twice, and he's able to perform it just like that. And sometimes he doesn't even need to see the move to figure it out, which is exactly what he did with the Wuxi Finger Hold. So, of course, Tai Lung is defeated as he is sent to the spirit realm, and then Po ends up saving the Valley of Peace and is rejoiced as a hero, which is great because in the eyes of everybody, he was always this weakling who would never amount to anything, and now he gets his chance to shine, and that's really amazing. The movie doesn't last long after that, but it's still really good, and it sets up really awesome future potential, which is where the sequels and TV shows come in, and that's really amazing that this movie was planned to be a franchise from the get-go. I mean, seriously, it took only 3 years for the sequel to be released, and there are so many... I'm gonna talk about this more in my sequel review, but let's be honest, this movie is great as a standalone, and it's really great as part of a franchise. So there you have it. That is my review of Kung Fu Panda. It was a really great starting off point for a franchise, but it had some great things going for it. Stunning animation, iconic music, great characters who have their own character development, and a lot of emotional trauma. And of course, the best part of this movie, amazing action sequences, which is really great to see in this Kung Fu movie. And so, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and be sure to like and subscribe so you can keep up to date on all of my future projects, including the reviews for all of the upcoming Kung Fu Panda TV shows and sequels, including 2, 3, and Legends of Awesomeness, The Paws of Destiny, and The Dragon Knight, all leading up to Kung Fu Panda 4, which releases on March 8th, 2024. But until my next video, make sure you guys are staying safe out there, and I will see you all in the next one. Until then, bye-bye.
What are you gonna do, big guy? Sit on me?
Don't tempt me.